third chant we're to read before the Pert M Heru, reading from the Pert M Heru. Is a chant for Asar. Du Asar, Nefer, Rekh Ab, Sutin Hey, Nerjeta, Sebebi Hey. Du Asar Im Sadep, in Katnut, Uted in Geb, Arpet Neb, Du Asar Uraretai, Hev Eti, Neterian Tech, Du Asar Nefer Netera, Du Asar Nefer Netera. Okay, so last week I introduced the chant and I drew a blank when it was time to describe Om. So I wanted to revisit that with some information from Sibaja's wonderful presentation on Rekh Ab Charity, the bliss breathing meditation. So here we go. Om from Sibaja in the bliss breathing meditation class. We chant Om to fill our sacred space with sacred vibration. Om represents the third eye, the Wajet, Aset, and also enlightenment. So Om represents enlightenment. I only refer to it as the universal sound. I thought it was interesting that the eyes of Heru, the two eyes are for Heru, but Om is the third eye for Aset. Our sacred space is our set, our divine intuition, not the same as our individual intuition. The chanting of Om was found in the Leiden magical papyrus dated at 400 BC to 08 ACE. From verse 5, we get, Thy likeness, great is thy name, excellent is thy name, hidden is thy name. Mighty one of gods is thy name. He whose name is hidden from all the gods is thy name, Om. And from verse 6, Mighty Om is thy name, all the gods is thy name. The lotus, lion, and the ram is thy name. I don't know what this word is. L-O-O-U. I'm just going to say Om comes, both Lord of the lands. This is thy name. Amakir of heaven is thy name, the lotus flower of the stars. So that is the actual meaning for Om that I was not familiar with, didn't have handy last time. Last week I introduced the speech of Aset, which had some information about the breath. And this week I have some more information from the Temple of Aset. From the myths of Ra and Aset. And I like to just channel a melody for this portion of the program. See if I can get this a little bigger. Ayuena set, keri kutset, aset raset, inafu enang, chetset. Ayuena set, keri kutset, Aset raset, Inafu inang tese. Ayu enaset. Edikuset. Aset raset. Inafu inang tese. Translation. Then arrived Aset, also his servant, who was not crying, but instead she was provisioned with power residing in her mouth, in the form of the breath of life, her invocatory words of power. So I decided to mention this teachings. Again, we're dealing with the breath in the scriptures and in the chants and the divine singing. And what struck me about this is that she was provisioned with the power residing in her mouth in the form of the breath of life, her invocatory words of power. So earlier we learned that Om represents the third eye and represents Aset. And now we're learning that that we have power in our mouth in the form of the breath of life, which is the invocatory words of power. When we're reading these myths, we are instructed to realize that that we are the subject in the myth, and we're the person we're the being going through these experiences. So whatever is happening to them is also happening to us. In this part of the myth, Aset is challenging Ra to know his true name, to know his essence, because she wants to be like Ra. And we're on the same path to be like Ra, to gain our divinity. And so this is showing us that our words of power, which reside in our mouth, is in the form of the breath of life. And this is what Seba Ma had to say. This is taken from one of the lectures from the Temple of Aset, teachings of the Temple of Aset, quoting Seba Ma. So she had this power, this energy, this knowledge, the Rekh, the knowledge. She had that power in her capacity of speech. She has created Taffy Shepsi. She is able to sing, to speak the right vibration that is the Taffy Shepsi. Taffy Shepsi is something that she made to break down the illusion of creation. So I'm looking to see how we can apply this to what's going on in the world today. This is a kind of singing and vibrating that is breaking creation down. This breakdown of creation is something offered only by her, and she is the model of the aspirant. She is you. So if you find this frequency, this vibration, and do all the work to sculpt yourself into the image of a divine serpent with the harpoon. This is what she created to break down the illusion of creation, to take away the power of Ra. Then no power in creation can oppose you, because your power is of your own creation, and only you can undo it. If you poison an idea, only you can unpoison that idea. You can also poison the illusion. Nafu in Ankh, the breath of life, is contained in sacred words of power. So not only is breathing keeping us alive and, keeping us alive, the breath of life is contained in the sacred words of power. So not only doing breathing exercises and chanting and taking good care of ourselves to protect ourselves at a cellular level, like I talked about, using the breath to activate the positive energy in your cells. Now we learn that our the sacred words of power, the breath of life is contained in sacred words of power. So that's another way we can use our breath. All right. Review some of the words we learned last week. Shu is the cosmic force of the wind, the air, and the breath, the inner space. With Shu, we discover the connection between heaven and earth. We learned that Atum Ra created Shu and Tefnu, the air and moisture, by sneezing Shu into existence and spitting out the mucus, spitting out the moisture, Tefnut, into existence. And he made the joke about the common cold playing a significant role in the creation myth. And we had some readings from the Book of Breathing. We learned about the Sema, the hieroglyph represented by the union of two lungs and the trachea, symbolizing the union of the higher and lower self, leading to the oneness. So we learned about the words Sema, we learned the words Nafu, we learned the word Shu, and I just want to revisit the 3 chants that we learned last week. I'm calling them, when you put them together, the conspiracy chant. And say washu, say nafu, inside you said. 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 Sema nafu, uwashu. Sema nafu, uwashu. Sema nafu, uwashu. Sema nafu, uwashu. So that was just a little different version. The translation is, the first line, say washu, say nafu, and sayu set. Devotion to the divine leads to freedom from the fetters of set. Sema nafu uwashu is that kind of little play on words. When I learned the meaning of conspiracy, means to breathe together. So Sema is the word for yoga or unity. Nafu is the term for breath. And uwashu, uwa is oneness, unity, and shu is the cosmic force of air and breath. And ha simama means Join with Ma'at, let her guide your actions. And I translate that to breathe with Ma'at.